All right. So the title of this lecture will be Introduction to Representation of Algebras. So when you encounter first the word representation, it's gonna be accompanied with different stuff. Representation of groups, even monoids. Now we are focused on algebras, but I will give a very brief connection to the representation of groups that actually we might have not realized but we already encountered in our group theory. And as I've said, this is going to be very introductory level. So there are three references that you can find online. I think all of them are available without paying. I think, I'm not sure. But these are the three. The first one, this book here, is the one that is the most suitable, I would say, and complete if you want to learn the very basics of representation theory of algebras. It's a book by Erdmann and Holm, Algebras and Representation Theory. And the second book, Algebra by Thomas Hungerford. This is, I think, what a lot of us know. This book, I think we used this during our group theory or algebra in undergrad, where you see the representation of groups without explicitly saying that it's a representation of a group. And this last resources here would be the representation of groups, and I did not use anything inside of this book other than the definition. So to start, if you have seen the website, we have provided there the preliminaries, the prerequisites that we need to know, but I'm just gonna briefly mention them. The first one is the groups. So for those who are not familiar with groups, you can just think as an example, perhaps the set of real numbers under addition is a group under addition. Or maybe a bit higher would be the group of polynomials where coefficients come from the real numbers under addition still. These are our groups. Now, more structure. Let's add another structure or another operation to groups. What we get are rings. For instance, the group of real numbers under addition, where we add the multiplication of real numbers, is a ring. Here, similarly, the polynomials under addition of polynomials that we all know, and multiplication of polynomials is also a ring. Now going to the modules, I'm going to use this ring here. A module, as an example, would be the space of polynomials under addition where you have a different operation, which we call the scalar multiplication. Let me just bump this down a bit. Okay. But since we are talking about representation theory, I think the two most important structure that we need to know are modules and algebras. So I'm just going to be more detailed here. When we say a module, for instance, this module of polynomials, actually what you mean by that is that there is an action coming from the real numbers to your polynomial ring, going to your polynomial ring. Let's say I will call this or denote this action by dot. For instance, if I have, let's say, a real number alpha and this polynomial, you can map that to, well, I will view that as a tuple, to another polynomial, alpha I xi. In this case, we define this by taking the product of all the scalars here. We define that as the sum alpha I xi, where here I'm now looking at multiplication in R. So this is one of the most basic examples of a module over a ring. Now, the ring of real numbers is actually called a field. This guy here is called a field. A field means there's just invertible, or all the elements are invertible, and your multiplication is commutative. For this case, if your base ring is a field, then this is called a vector space. So I think everyone is familiar with vector spaces. So you can think of module as where your base field is not necessarily a field. That's it. All right. Now, going to algebras, because we are concerned about modules over algebras. What actually it is a combination of two things. It's a combination of a ring and a module, where certain compatibility conditions should be satisfied. So in particular, this polynomial ring here, so I will denote it by this triple, or yeah, this way I think is better. Okay, where this is your addition of polynomials, this is your multiplication of polynomials. Now, since it's a combination of a module and a ring, then you also have scalar multiplication, which I denote in the prerequisite notes with this one. Every time there is a semicolon, I denote, after that would be your scalar multiplication. All right. Okay. So now what we are concerned at this point actually are modules over vector spaces. Sorry, modules over the field. So you change this ring here to algebra. I'm sorry if I think I said wrongly. What we are concerned are with modules over algebra. Okay. Which, since it's an algebra, this module becomes a vector space over your field. And finally, homomorphisms. These are just structure preserving maps. All right. For instance, if I have a group, then let's say my operation is plus, then you want this function to be sort of linear, for instance. And you just adopt this to rings. What are the operation in a ring? And you want this operation to be preserved. Similarly to modules and algebras. Okay. I hope I'm not going too fast or too slow. And in this talk, or in this presentation, especially in representation theory of algebras, we will assume that our rings are actually unital, meaning there is an identity element under the multiplication, and our modules are actually unitary. And by a module, I will mean a left module in this course. Okay. Now, let's build up from group theory, things that we have already encountered, and try to build from group theory to algebras. All right. Now, in our group theory lecture called Action of a group on a set. Say I have a group G here and I have a set. So this is a group and this is a set. Let's just denote that by this um, arrow here, where I mean that there's just an action. Um, so we know from our group theory that if there's an action, this actually induces a group homomorphism. So G to the set of bijective maps from S to S. This S here is exactly the set that your group G is acting on. And this is a group homomorphism. Since the set of bijective maps forms a group under composition of mappings. Okay. All right. But just to briefly show what happened here, what is an action of a group on a set, and how did we find a group homomorphism? So to briefly define what is an action, so it's again, let's denote it by this dot. It's actually a mapping from the group G on a set S to the set itself, where let's say I denote that by just taking the dot G dot S, such that first, the identity element, so E here would be the identity element, acts like nothing, trivially on all the elements of your set S. And second, since there's an operation on your group, let's say G1 circle G2, where this circle is the operation in your group, which acts on as element S, you want this to go one by one, acting on the element S. What I mean is, we start from the right. So G2 acting on S, and this element then would be acted by G1. So you see here that if your group is actually not abelian, then this would not be the same as if you have a left and a right action. So here, I'm just gonna show the left action. All right, so these are the two axioms of an action from a group on a set. The group homomorphism that we obtain here, so I will just denote this thing here by A of S, meaning bijective maps from S to S. So what is this mapping here? So for every element G, you map that to, let's say, I will call it tau sub G, which is a mapping from S to S because it should be an element on your set of bijective maps. And every, say, element S would be sent to the action of G on S. And this can be proved to be a group homomorphism. Okay. This is very trivial group theory. Now we will try to build going to the representation of algebras. But first, let's say I'm gonna change my set S to not just any set, but a set with structure. Okay, so let's say G is still the group. Now that's acting on, let's say, a vector space. Since it's a vector space, there is an addition and a scalar multiplication here. So there are two operations in your set already. and there's an action from group to that vector space. Now, since there is a structure in your set, you want this action to also be nice, to be to give you something that would preserve maps or would respect these operations. I'm just gonna call it acting linearly. So let's say, I'm not gonna define it, but let's say G acts linearly on this vector space here. Now, you can still induce this homomorphism. So G going to A of V. All right. The same set here. A of S, A of V, because you have now the set V. Since this action is linear, what you will get, this is important since that is a linear action, what you will get here on the right hand side is not just simply bijective maps, but actually is also linear. So let me just delete that then, because that's not what we want. What we get here are bijective linear maps from V to V. Okay, now there's we call this something in algebra, bijective linear maps from V to V. This is denoted by, let's say, aught KV, or the general linear group on V. Okay, now why is this interesting? I'm just gonna say that at this point in time. It's interesting because if you look at this part here, you transform a linear group action to a group homomorphism from the group to this space here. I would argue that it's still very algebraic at this point. It's still, it still needs a bit of a push to understand what this is. But imagine if this vector space is finite dimensional, meaning you can take it as copies of your field K. Then this, we know from our basic algebra 2, that this will then be giving you matrices of dimension, of a finite dimension, depending uh, on the dimension of your vector space. So it means that actually this group action on a vector space can then be translated to something very combinatorial, that's a term, where you ask yourself, okay, what happens in the matrices? That's the question that you can then ask yourself. But of course, that's not all the time. That's only for finite dimensional case. In general, what you have is this here. Now, going to representation. So, without telling you, this is actually your definition. This entire thing here is your definition of a representation of a group. What you will see in literature is directly this definition here. A represent on the right hand side. A representation of a group is simply a group homomorphism from that group to the space of general linear, or sorry, the space of bijective linear maps from a vector space. So what you have are two things. First, a vector space and a mapping that sends, or this group homomorphism. So what you actually need is a tuple V phi or phi. This is your group representation. All right. So we started from an action on a group on just any set. Then we build up, I hope successfully, on something that has some structure in it, in this case, a vector space. And it's called now a group representation. Now, let's now go to our goal, which is the algebra representation. Therefore, since we are gonna go from a group to algebra, let's just change this then. So I have, instead of a group G, I have an algebra A. So this is a K algebra, which acts on a vector space too. And it should also act linearly. Then in the same argument, what you will get is also a mapping from A going to some maps from V to V. Okay, I'll just put that there first. Okay, I have an action from an algebra on a vector space. Then I get this mapping here. Let's just call it a mapping first. Phi from A to some mappings from V to V. Since I have a vector space, so this should also be a mapping from V to V. All right. Now, similarly, from above, these mappings should also be something that is respecting the action here. I mean, is also reflecting the action on the right, on the left-hand side. So in particular, I'm just gonna delete this. What you get are linear maps from V to V. Okay, one question might arise here is, why is it that in the group representation, what you get are actually bijective linear maps? Here, you only get linear maps. It's because here we are we are talking above, we were talking about groups, and in groups you have the inverse of all the elements. Here we don't have that in the multiplication side. We are not sure of that. Therefore, this bijection of maps are not assured in here. So what we get is just the set of linear maps from V to V. And that is what we denote by end VK, the set of all linear maps from V to V. Okay, above we have a group homomorphism here, group homomorphism. Below, I have an algebra. I have a set. At this point, I don't know yet what it is, if it's a group or I don't know, if it's a module, I don't know. But our hope is that it will also be nice in a way that if this is an algebra, this should also be an algebra homomorphism, which then would tell us that this should be an algebra. Otherwise, we cannot make a mapping between two algebras if the second one is not an algebra. So to just briefly tell you what I think it's already there in the prerequisite notes, but to briefly tell you, this guy is an algebra. So the space of endomorphisms from a vector space to itself is an algebra under addition, scale composition, and scalar multiplication. So addition of two mappings, we know that you just take the sum of the images of each one of them. So f of v plus g of v. Composition, of course, you take f of g of v. And scalar multiplication, well, you have, let's say, alpha f of v would then be equal to f alpha of v. Where here, this is already an element of your vector space V. So you are looking at this part here as alpha acting on your vector space V, where alpha is a scalar element of your field. All right, I think that's the needed introduction to the introduction. We are now ready to formally define what is a representation of an algebra. But this is what it is already in this page. I'm just going to write it out in a more formal way. So what is a representation of an algebra? All right. But before I go to the definition of our representation of an algebra, let's move back a bit first. I told you earlier that the one of the important or the most important one of the important, I think it's the most important structure that you are gonna need in this case is a module. So here, this part here actually says that this V here is an what we call a module over your K algebra. So you can think it this way that every module will give you a representation or this mapping phi here. And if you have this mapping phi, you also get a module. This is a bit of a hint of what we will see later on. Okay, enough of that. Let's go to the definition of an algebra representation. Of course, let's fix field K. And a K algebra. So a representation of A is actually a pair. If you remember, we have said that the group representation is a pair where you have a vector space and a mapping. Similarly, you also have a pair of a vector space and a mapping phi where V is a K vector space and phi here is what we have seen earlier. It is a mapping from the K algebra A to the space of endomorphisms on V. So this is a K algebra homomorphism. Okay. So basically, let's go for examples. Maybe I should not scroll so that you can write if you like. Okay, example. Let's first fix ourselves with a field. So let K be a field. First example would then be what we call a natural or a regular representation. So if A is a K algebra, then since it's a K algebra by definition, then A is also a vector space. So perhaps it would be a good candidate for V because it's a vector space by itself. And we define this phi now, mean this algebra homomorphism from A to the space of endomorphisms on A, this will now be our V, by sending every element of your algebra. So this now will be an endomorphism. So how is it defined? It's defined by taking the left multiplication of elements. So A multiplied with B. Here, just to emphasize, this is the multiplication in A. So it's a ring, then there's, because it's an algebra, it should be a ring, there's a multiplication. And this is what we call the regular representation. A phi is called it's the most natural one. If you have an algebra directly, you have a representation. Second example, so one of the spaces that we have introduced in the prerequisite notes is the space of n by n matrices where your coefficients come from the field K. So let M and K be the algebra of n by n matrices over K. Then, if we try to define a mapping from this M and K, going to endomorphism of something because we want a representation. In this case, what we get is Kn, the n-dimensional space over your field K. This n comes from the fact that we have an n by n matrix here, where we send every matrix, let's say C, to phi of C. So it's going to be a mapping from Kn to Kn, where if I have a vector V, it's also very natural. Then what we just define this is the multiplication of matrices. So C multiplied with the vector V. This is matrix multiplication. Therefore, so Kn phi is a representation of your algebra A. Third example. So I have already mentioned the space of polynomials over your field K. So let this denote the polynomial algebra with coefficients from K. And let's again find this tuple K and phi, or this V phi where you have a vector space and a mapping phi. But before that, let's first take any vector space. So let V be a vector space over K. And at the same time, let's take any linear map from V to V. Now, maybe this is what we need to define a representation. For that, we will use this vector space and a mapping that will be induced by this linear map. And we denote that by, let's say, phi sub f be the evaluation map of f. Okay, what that is. So remember, what we need is a mapping from kx going to the endomorphism space of V. Okay, let's say I have a polynomial, let's just alpha I x to the I. Okay, this is a polynomial in this space. We map that to, in here where we have pf of this alpha I xi, where we define it as taking the evaluation of this polynomial on f. So we just take x to be, or substitute f on the x's. So that's going to be f to the I. Okay. Here, I have a power of f. So I have to define that, where f to the I is taking the I copies or I composition of f to itself. And this is defined because these are mappings from V to V. So this is also a mapping from V to V. So this should be I times. And this then would be a representation. V comma f is a representation of k of x. So what we have realized here, we started with a polynomial algebra, or the polynomial algebra with coefficients from k, and we just set any vector space and any linear map, and we got this representation. This means that that's what we need. You just take any nice vector space that you like and any linear map, then you already have yourself a representation, because we define this very arbitrarily. Okay, so this is the last example, but to motivate us to what I was talking about earlier about modules. So let's say I have this vector space, this evaluation map, and I would define, okay, this is a different thing. So I would define a mapping from kx cross v to v, where I send every polynomial and every vector to, say, g dot v. So this is that g dot v to be this evaluation here, evaluation on g, and you take to and evaluate it again on v, on the vector v. Now, actually, by defining it this way, this would give you a module structure on your v. Therefore, v is a kx module. Okay, so from a representation, from a polynomial algebra, you have a representation v phi f, and then now we got a module. So there was a process here to formally say what happened here, we do that by a theorem. Let K be a field and let A be a K algebra. First, if I have an A module B, V, with the action, so since it's in an A module, you have an A action, say A cross V to V, which we denote by just always taking the dot, so A dot V. So an arbitrary module, then we can actually define a representation. Then we obtain V phi of A, where, so this phi here is a mapping from A to the endomorphism space, where you take the action as defining your mapping. So every vector would then be sent to the action of A on B. Okay, so that's what literally happened earlier. We had a module, or it was actually the reverse. We had a representation, then we obtained a module. But actually, you can also do it the other way. If you have a module, then you obtain a representation. A module over the algebra would give you the representation, a specific representation of that algebra. And what we observe here is that this phi here heavily or is relying on the definition of your action. It's this phi is describing the action in other words. Now, reversely, if I have a representation, let V phi be a representation of A, then we obtain an A module. So we should also know how the action is or how the action is defined. All we have is a representation. So similarly, the action is then extracted from the definition or how is your phi or your mapping is defined. In particular, the action is defined in this way. So I have an action A cross V to V where I send every tuple AV to A that V, of course, and this is defined to be phi of A of V. Because remember, this phi of A or this phi is a mapping from A to the endomorphism space since it is a representation. Therefore, this phi of A is already a mapping from V to V. So this is a good definition. You take the image of V under the image of A. Okay. Now let's prove this. So I'm not sure how much time I have left. think, good amount of time, but I will just prove this first one. Since the second one, it's already almost the same way, and it's very just easy proof. But I'm gonna prove the first one just for us to have a hang of it. Okay, so proof. Okay, to prove, let's start with A module V. With the action, given by this dot. Okay, our goal is to obtain a representation. So obtain a representation W phi, where this W is a vector space and phi is a mapping from A to the endomorphism space on V. Okay. Now, what is our candidate for W here? Our candidate actually, well, this V, which is our A module. Since, so firstly, we let W be equal to V. Since V is a module over A, so over a K algebra, it becomes a vector space over K. So you can check this. You can check the axioms for a vector space. And since here we are looking at rings which are unital, and our modules are also unitary, yes, you you use that fact and use the mapping um, every, let's say, lambda in K map to lambda 1A, which is an element of A. Using this mapping, your K would then become a subspace of A. And you can then check all the other vector space criteria, and it will be proved. So W, which is equal to V, is also a vector space. So our candidate here will be V. Now we just need to define phi. As mentioned, phi will be coming from A to the endomorphism space of V. We map an element A to a mapping phi of A from V to V. V will be mapped to the action of A on V. And what we want two things here. First, we want that phi of A is indeed an element of this endomorphism space. Otherwise, it's not properly defined. And second, phi should be a K-algebra homomorphism. So let's prove these two things. First, that the phi of A is an element of this endomorphism space from V to V, which means that it's a mapping from V to B and it is linear. All right. To prove a linear map, we let arbitrary elements V and W in K and scalars alpha and beta. Then we just do a very easy evaluation of alpha V plus beta W under phi of A. And let's see if what we get is a linear mapping. Okay. First, what is the definition of phi of A? So it's the action of A on alpha V from plus beta W. That's how we defined here above phi of A. Now, since this is a module over an algebra, you can directly compute this, and what you will get is alpha A acting on V plus beta A acting on W. You can do all the necessary steps to lead to this equation, but you use the fact that you have a module over a K algebra. And this is defined to be alpha phi of A of V, this entire thing here, plus beta phi of A of W, this entire thing here. And so we have a linear map. Since we prove that this is true, phi of A is a linear map. That is, phi of A is an element of this endomorphism space. First want is done. Let's prove the second want. What we want, the second one is that phi is a K-algebra homomorphism.
Ma'am, here V and W are the elements of V, right?
Come again?
Here
Ah,
V and W.
thank you for, yeah, that should be V. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. So V and W are elements of your V and alpha and beta are elements of your K. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So phi now we should be K algebra homomorphism. So to prove that, let's first recall ourselves what this phi is. So it is a mapping from A to the endomorphism space where you send A to phi of A, V to V, A map to the action of A, or rather V, A of V. Okay. And reminding ourselves, this endomorphism space is as an algebra under addition of mappings, and multiplication would be your composition of maps and your usual scalar multiplication. Okay, let's prove that. Let alpha and beta be scalars and A and B be algebra elements. We need to show the following. First, phi of alpha A plus beta B should be alpha phi of A plus beta phi of B, which means it is linear. Second, it should also be a ring homomorphism. So phi of AB should be phi of A composed with phi of B, since the operation or the multiplication in the endomorphism space is composition. And lastly, phi of 1A should be the identity element in your endomorphism space, which is, of course, your identity mapping from V to V. This is your identity mapping from V to V. Okay, to prove all of this, these are equalities as mappings, so mappings on V. So let's have an arbitrary element V in your space V. Then, first one, P of alpha A plus beta B of V. Okay, by definition, we take the action of the element alpha A plus beta B acting on V. Here, we have an element of A acting on an element of V. So by definition of your action, this would then be equal to alpha A acting on V plus beta B acting on V. And then this A dot V would then be the definition of alpha of phi of A. Phi of A of V plus beta phi of B V. And so it follows that this entire thing, so alpha phi of A plus beta phi of B is equal to this entire thing on the left-hand side. Therefore, phi of alpha A plus beta B is equal to alpha phi of A plus beta phi of B. This is A. Okay, so we have proved the first one. Second, multiplication. Just to emphasize, this is the multiplication where in A. Since A is an algebra, it is a ring, so you have multiplication. So to emphasize, that is the multiplication here. So phi of AB of V would then be AB acting on the element V. One of the axioms of an algebra is that if you have this, you take the rightmost part, the rightmost element, you act that first on your V, and then this element, then you have A acting on that element. That's the definition of an module over over an algebra. Yeah. And what you get here is this phi of this B acting on B would be phi of B of V by our definition. And again, this entire element is the image of phi of under phi of A. Of course, this then would then be the composition of phi of A and phi of B. Therefore, phi of AB is equal to phi of A circle phi of B. And lastly, the last axiom that we need to check is phi of 1A, the identity element in the ring part of your algebra A, that it should be your identity on your endomorphism space. So by definition, this is 1A acting on V. And of course, this is equal to V since we have the definition of a unitary module. And that, of course, will be just taking the identity mapping on V. Therefore, phi of 1A is equal to identity V, identity mapping on V, and that is the identity or the identity element on the endomorphism space. Okay, therefore, final conclusion, P from A to the endomorphism space is a K-algebra homomorphism. Therefore, you have this tuple V phi is a representation of A. Okay, we're done. From going back here in our theorem, from a module, you have a module, we obtained a representation. And the second one tells us that if I have a representation on A, then you also have a module structure. So what this tells us is that which perhaps is easier for you to handle. Are you more confident or familiar with modules, or are you more confident or familiar with representations? And you can jump from one thing to the other if you are, let's say, doing a research and trying to prove things. Okay. All right. Let me see the time. Okay. I think I have not, I don't have much time anymore. But let's say perhaps an example would do. So remember earlier that we had three examples of representation. The first one would be the regular representation. So phi from A to the endomorphism space, where you just use the multiplication on A. So phi of A from A to A, where you take multiplication on the left. This is multiplication on A. Multiplication on A. Now, if this is a representation, then you can obtain a module structure on A. So A is actually, which is a K-algebra, is a module over itself. Or A module. And according to our theorem, the action is defined by this phi of A, or this phi. So the action A cross A going to A, where you take A and B, A acting on an element B would then be defined as phi of A of B. Now, in this part, I'm just using the theorem that you use the phi as to define your module action. And this is defined as the multiplication on A. So every algebra is a module over itself. Then the second example, what we had earlier is the matrix space. So we know that K and phi is a representation for M and K, where this N here is reflecting the dimension here. Then To remind us, this is defined in this way. So M and K going to the endomorphism space of Kn, where if I have a matrix C, you just take the matrix multiplication. If I have a vector V, you just take the image of that vector under the matrix A. So this is your matrix multiplication. And similarly, if I have a representation according to our theorem, then we should have a module structure. Therefore, this vector space here, the n copies of your field gate, would then be a module over this algebra. So Kn is an M and K module. So what is our action? So M and K acting on Kn. So it is a mapping in this, it's a mapping that sends every tuple A or C, V to the image of C, and you take the image of V under that image. And by definition, that's just the matrix multiplication here, according to this one. And lastly, our last example, which we already um,
Excuse,
proved
that is
after.
also that B to A, no? That should should go to A of V, no? Sorry, C of V, I think.
Come again? Sorry, I cannot hear you properly. C.
Oh, yeah, C.
That this one? Thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Um, finally, final example. We have already proved this, but just to see it again. If we have the any vector space and any linear map from V to V, then we can define an action on V coming from the space of polynomials. So V is a Kx module with action induced by this linear map by F. Okay, I think I should end my lecture at this point. So are there questions?